All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. I know it's been a busy 3 days, talking lots about technology announcements, and all those great products. Now it's time to bring those products back into a business context and look at what does that mean for capital market, how do we drive change, how do we accelerate innovation, and how do we define our data strategies to accelerate growth in that segment. So my name is Antoine Amende. I lead our financial services vertical, specifically from an ecosystem standpoint. So working with data providers, industry-aligned ISVs, SI, GSIs, and everything we do is really about contextualizing the technical capability of our platform to solve business problems. So it's that strong alignment from business to tech back to business. And I'm sure that you may have heard about that concept that we launched earlier this year called the outcome map. So yes, this is a way of how we can streamline our go-to-market sales motion, but for me as a former practitioner, this is really a way to align our priorities and making sure that everything we do on our platform is strongly in line with what is it that you're trying to drive in your industry. So we launched that concept with insurance, with banking and payment, and capital market, aligning our strategy to your strategies around driving profitability and growth, generating revenue, or around protecting the firm, or driving efficiency. That's how we start bringing all those different use cases into action and making sure that then we can lean like the ecosystem, the best practices, the notebooks, the story to help you succeed faster on those key core priorities. So if you believe that we might be wrong in categorizing some of those or might be missing a few things, and if you believe that we need to prioritize a topic over another because it's near and dear to your heart, please scan that QR code. Just tell us what you think about your key core priorities, and we'll make sure that we can activate and prioritize that further, right? I don't see a lot of phone. Please take a picture of this. This is really how we're streamlining our entire go-to-market motion. So today, I'll leave the stage shortly to Rahul. He will be talking about how he's been accelerating growth in capital market at B3. And then we'll be sharing the stage with Jimmy and Bobby to exchange really about the concept of building data strategies to accelerate innovation, accelerate growth, creating data products, and embracing AI and AI product in that. So hopefully everyone should be done by 1:15. It might be a packed agenda, so let's get into it right away. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome on stage Rahul Chavaria. Rahul is the head of IT for Index Platform at B3. Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you, Antoine. Let me check if this is working. Yeah. So we have to put that on the slides. I'm not going to read that for you. This is only for informational purpose. So I want to walk you through what the business opportunity we saw back in Brazil in the index market, and how was our approach, the challenges, and our strategies, and what we're doing and what we're seeing next on this market. So this is me. So I'm the head of IT for the Index Platform in Brazil. My name in Portuguese will be saying Rahul Chavaria. I have more than 20 years of experience in this industry, and I'm married with a beautiful Christian. I have 2 teenagers, Diogo and Samuel. And I don't know if you guys have any issues back home, but my wife did not allow me. But if she would allow me, I would be a pilot. I would take my private pilot certificate. This is me actually flying a small plane for the once and only time, as she says. So what is B3? B3 is the Brazilian Stock Exchange. The word stands for Brazil, Bolsa and Balcão. In English will be Brazil Exchange and OTC, over the counter. But we're not here to talk about the exchange. I'm here to talk how we are working our way to be an index provider. We've been working with index for more than 50 years. Our flagship index, the Ibovespa, it dates from the 60s. So the graph is a little messed up, so sorry for that. But the blue bar is the age of the Ibovespa. It's about 58 years old. The top one will be where probably if you guys are US-based and put retirement savings here is SP 500. It's 68 years old. The first one is the Dow Jones Index, 140 years old. So we're not new in this market. But we're not seeing that market grow. So if you look worldwide, when you look at the financial value that's deposited into asset managers, on the passive portfolio management, ETF, which is a fund that traded as a stock in an exchange, you're seeing here US, the financial value is around 50%. Europe, 30%, and Asia, around, well, there's 2 years, but the right one is Asia, it's 15%. Any guesses how much Brazil is? It's 0.7%. So that's where we're aiming. So this is the business opportunity that we saw. And but what an ETF has to do with an index? Well, if you are familiar with an ETF, the ETF normally mirror an index. So this is a saying that were extracted of a paper that we wrote ourselves that tells the history of ETFs in Brazil. It dates from 20 years from now. So understanding ETFs requires knowing the market index they mirror. So that's what we want to see. So what are the challenges and our strategies to do this growing throughout the market? So on the business side, we're seeing ETFs being, the number of listed ETFs in our exchange growing 45% year over year since 2019. And if you're not creating new index, someone else is creating. So this is the opportunity that we saw, so we have to do that. In order to do that, we'll launch an initiative called Index on Demand as a successful MVP. But it is an MVP and it didn't scale. Now we have to lose the M, and the business strategy was create a new business unit inside the exchange to only deal with indexes, which I'm the IT responsible for. On the technology side, an index platform, our index platform lives inside the electronic trading environment. That gives us like some bumps, but strength, but the bumps is there's only like transaction architecture. So they're concerned about RTTs or latency, and an index we figured out it's data. It's mainly data. So when you do rebalancing of a new portfolio, you basically look into historical data. And well, if it is data, we thought we have to do like big data. We have to do like modern data platforms. And doing our researches, we found out that the Spark was the way to do it, and of course, Spark is Databricks. So last but not least, what we did is transform a hardcore software engineer team into a data engineering team. Then this is now actually my team. And I brought you 2 examples of what we are doing back in Brazil. So Banco do Brasil, it's probably the hugest bank in terms of agribusiness in Brazil. They launched with us iAgro, or IAGRO, as we say. The ETF code back in Brazil is Agri11. And Banco do Brasil is responsible for more than 50% of rural credit concession back in Brazil. What they wanted is to bring agribusiness to the individual investor. After this launch, they launched extra 2 indexes with us. One that maps the live cattle, the other one maps corn. And average of the net asset value of the ETFs is around 100 million of our money, which is real in US dollar, will varies the currency exchange, but it's around 17 million of a net asset value. The other one, we're not aiming more than on the financial side, but on the trading side is the iDiversa, which is connected to our ESG strategy. Is the first index in Latin America that use race and gender as a portfolio criteria. We benchmark the numbers using our population, and there's an institute back in Brazil that does that. And from the launching in 2023, we're seeing like a growth of companies that are listed inside our index. Another one is we're seeing also an average Black people representation inside open companies that are listed in B3 growing from 39 to 45%. And also Black people representation in leadership roles growing from 23 to 27%. And as a transparency, we are seeing like numbers also shrinking. So very slight shrink, but the women's on boards of the companies reduced from 21.6 to 20.9. But this is what we want to do, is to influence the market on Brazil of the open companies should be more diverse. And what's next? What's next? This is where we're seeing Databricks can like lead us to. in 3 different areas. First one, market surveillance and regulatory intelligence. Look into like frauds inside of electronic trading areas, it's very data intensive. So this is something that when we have like a curated data lake, in, like a place that you can just work it out, all your investigations, it's easier, and of course it's faster to answer our regulators. Second one, like this is plain vanilla, just modernize your analytics infrastructure. We're seeing like maybe 3 examples. Migrating on-prem SaaS, we're already doing that to Databricks. Also, with the advent of data culture, we're seeing a lot of business areas creating like Python Jupyter notebooks or complex Excels or R projects inside the areas. But maybe Databricks can give us like data rooms where I can do that with in a more secure and governed way. Another one, it's create alternatives for self-service analytics tools. And I was preparing for the presentation, but I was very excited to see the Lakehouse Designer or in the Databricks one. This is something that going back to something that I really want to take a look at, maybe help us in this Alteryx Designer like move to Databricks. Last one is give our business users power with data. Genie, if you look into operational areas, you're going to see a lot of dashboards. There's a lot of questions or inquiries that are due to our data inside our operations. So this is something that we want to take a look as well. And also data sharing. We are a multi-cloud company, and ingress costs that it can be expensive, and data sharing can help with that. So that's what I got for you today. Antoine, I hand it back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that partnership, and sorry for butchering your name. Initially, I even missed the R, and I thought it was a P, and called you Paul. That's terrible. So let's get to the second part of that session, and for that, I would like to invite Jimmy Kozlow, Chief Data Officer at Northern Trust, and Bobby Gruber, Head of AI and Digital Innovation at RBC Capital Market. Thank you. So welcome. Before you notice I sit down so you'll see my socks, that's a gift from Rahul, and represent the last landline that they use for trading. So that marks an era about the end of the legacy world for capital market, and we come to that new world. I thought that was a good symbol. So welcome, Jimmy, Bobby. Thank you for joining us. I don't know if you want to quickly a brief introduction, what you do, and what you would like to share today.
Sure, I'll start. It's good to see everyone. I'm Jimmy Kozlow. I've been with Northern Trust for about 5 years. Northern Trust is a global provider of asset servicing, wealth management, and asset management. We're headquartered in Chicago. I started as a consultant actually with Northern Trust, and then 4 years ago, we started on our data journey. Which, if many of you know, it's a journey, right? We've been iterating through this process of getting our data estate right. And my last role was building a data mesh ecosystem for our enterprise. And part of that was working with each of the business units to get their data in a consistent fashion to build the foundation. And most recently in March, I joined our wealth management business unit just to be on the other side of the table. So if there's anyone to point at of the data strategy, I get to look in the mirror and really kind of address the challenges, the good and the bad head on. So it's been a good journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah, thanks, Antoine. Thanks, Jimmy. Great to be with you. Love your socks. Really, the energy at the conference has been incredible. It has been really exciting to be here. Looking forward to this talk. I've been at RBC almost 3 decades, privileged to lead our AI and digital innovation team, and we're responsible for leading the development of the end-to-end AI strategy across all of capital markets to drive client and commercial outcomes, and we're accountable to embed AI-driven innovation as a core driver of client value, revenue growth, and competitive advantage for the entire business. I'm really excited for the talk.
Excited to have you on board. Thank you very much. So let's get to directly in with the first question. So you've been in the industry for a long time, and I think there was a mantra that we're all familiar with, which is in capital market, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Just leave it as is. So what changed recently that made that status quo no longer viable? Why do we have to change right now? We no longer have an option, like regulatory pressure, cost, client expectation. So what's the driver behind those large-scale transformations today?
You mentioned the energy. The energy, for me, it's the energy and pace of change. Right? We're at Northern Trust is 135 years old. We've had to evolve over time, but evolving with our clients who are also embracing the energy and pace of change, that's what's causing and driving the need to act. That's at least at a high level.
I think the aha moment for us is the business value we want to create at scale. So if you zoom out for a minute, kind of big part of our story is RBC Borealis. Because of our CEO, we've been investing in AI for the past decade, but that allowed us to have a lot of experience with reinforcement learning. And in that layer of AI, we learned a lot. We patented a platform called deepen. And in those learnings, when we started studying Gen AI, the aha moment for us was March 2023 through the lens of our CEO. Came down to New York, sat across. It's really inspiring, kind of quick story. And he looked at me and said, "Why are you so excited and the team so excited about this next wave of AI?" And we said, "Derek, think about capital markets research." And he loves research. And research, it's your traditional sell-side research. We have 100 analysts. What we learned from reinforcement learning is how reinforcement learns is originally on the board games, checkers, chess, and Go. Measurable boundaries with thousands of measurable permutations in between. You think about capital markets research, put your 100 analysts on a checkerboard. On average, they cover 15 names. He had a stated goal. We had a goal to take the 1,500 names to 2,000 in the medium term and 2,500 in the long term. And we invest a lot in this business. And then because we measure everything, the average analyst spends 360 hours on a phone approximately with an investor client, 450 hours with a corporate client. And then you do the math on the earnings. The average analyst spends 45 minutes to 3 hours on each individual earnings per quarter. So you have the measurables. So studying Gen AI, if you add this layer on top and you give your analyst the productivity, we can actually scale company coverage without diminishing quality, and you can link it back to all the measurables that are important, including the client rankings. So what do you, looked at me and said, like, "Yeah, I get it. What do you need?" I said, "The team needs you to have our back when we're pushing boundaries," and then we never look back.
That's amazing. Oh, thank you for sharing that. So I think the aha moment when Gen AI came to life, like a few years ago, I think for me was not necessarily Gen AI per se, but the fact that, okay, that means we need to work on the governance, we need to work on the foundation, we need to work on our data to be able to unlock all those great capabilities. And I think you briefly touched on the foundation aspect, Jimmy. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit, why do you think like AI can scale without the proper foundation, and how you address that at Northern Trust?
Yeah, it's a common theme of this week, but going back a few years, right, when the lake house idea came up, so many folks have rich data, and so many deal with it in inconsistent ways, and that was true at Northern Trust. We started our journey 4 years ago with data mesh in mind, and across the different business units, there's great work done, but it's point-to-point data connections, limited governance, inconsistent governance, duplication, all the things that we're solving for. So we really tried to pick apart where we did it well, and I kind of think of it as a rocky peaks and valleys of people who do it well, people who don't do it well. So we're trying to smooth that out. So with the foundation, you wind up with a kind of a central team that defines the policies, and we've then kind of gone after a hub and spoke model where my last role was in the center, trying to define the policies that we followed to make sure that consistent framework was established. And that's just allowed us to start to, of course, as a 130-year-old bank, we take risk seriously, and we do things very deliberately. So we've been very deliberate at understanding the risk of artificial intelligence. And the one driving factor is that our foundation, we're getting our data foundation right first. And that's leading to allow us to test those pieces one at a time. I think it was one of the keynotes mentioned yesterday, you can't just throw an agent at a problem. You have to take one at a time. So we've followed that approach, and I think in wealth management, where we have our biggest Databricks biggest Databricks footprint, that's what we're building on. So I think that's what's most exciting.
Yeah, no, thank you. I like how you mentioned a consistent framework, so across the group, across the organization, down to the BU. I think that ties back into what, Bobby, you mentioned when we met about the Office of AI and how do you start creating a consistent framework at the group level whilst still allowing innovation to happen in pockets, but in a consistent way. So how did you avoid like toy model, experimentation, and all those things on the side, but in more consistent, enterprise-friendly innovation?
Yes, we certainly encourage to test, learn, and improve constantly. We have an AI direct framework that allows our data scientists to be data scientists, to experiment, to fail fast. If they see business value, you can elevate that and then present that to what we call the product advisory board, which has real funding. It's a group of decision makers, and you can fund an idea. 3 criteria: solving a client problem, is it scalable, and is it commercial? If you move it up kind of another layer, and this is something, Antoine, we talked about around the Office of AI, because of the learnings of reinforcement learning, and because we had the notoriety from having a patented platform, we had regulators around the world coming into the bank. So the Office of AI, the idea 2 years ago was have one front door for the regulators. We inventoried every AI activity across capital markets. To that point, wasn't really a clear inventory, and then we categorized it. And then anyone across 8,000 people in capital markets that wants to do anything in AI has to present what they're doing through the Office of AI. That's underpinned by the AI Governance Committee, which subsumes the governance of Royal Bank, which is identical, and then has membership across enterprise and business. Really important for us to get the right membership, to get the right decision makers, to get the right expertise there. You align to PAB, but that's a funding piece to prioritize what you're going to fund and what you're going to scale. But most importantly, the key learning for us all, was everybody wants to move fast. A lot of our team is in here, and they're saying move faster and move fast. If you slow down and think through the risks, we spent a good 5 months thinking through the risk of deploying Gen AI, our capability agent at scale. 5 months, we prepared to the highest standard, identified the risks. We were able to take it and ready to take it to the reputational risk committee of the bank. But in slowing down for 5 months, we hated it, but it was identifying the risks and really understanding the risks. And then you fast forward, once we got through that process, as painful as it was, that governance, then you can go really fast. So that governance is we take really, really seriously and has served us well.
So the Office of AI is not just the police of AI stopping, it's really that kind of catalyst
exactly.
of changes.
Yeah.
Sometimes governance has been seen as like red tape and everything, but governance these days become more that accelerator to that innovation.
Yeah.
And about hub and spoke model, same for you, Jimmy, when you said everybody will create their data products and everything. How do you act upon that? How do you make sure that creating a model data is great, cataloging that is better, but how do you distribute that? How do you make it to action? Like, do you have a similar kind of governance framework like the Office of AI, but for data products across your organization?
One of the things that I think was helpful was we had the role of data mesh product owner or enablement lead, which is engaging customers, treating it as a product, and going out there and just like any good product manager would, making data-driven decisions into functionality that's needed. So finding a way to measure demand. Once you can measure it, you can manage it. I think that's been a big piece for us. And then that was kind of my old focus. Now I go to the business unit where in wealth management we've got positions data, transactions, valuations, asset security master reference data that comes in from vended platforms. We're able to build on this foundation that brings in data easily, organizes it in the way we need, and then I'm now a consumer of those build once, use many times products. So we've built that, but I think in any organization the challenge is getting people to understand that, right? We want to keep the central team small. Right? Yeah. We are not building a large enterprise data warehouse, but the challenge is scaling it, rolling it out, changing the culture, getting our thoughts. There's colleagues here from Northern Trust. I'm trying to take back, how do we take this energy and share it with others? And we've got people who've very experienced, but they're very set in their ways. So I think you can't discount the cultural factors that you have to address as you roll this out. But I think that enablement lead and then starting small and finding those key wins is important.
We discussed about the lineage aspect, how critical it is, not only for building trust, but for building traceability and distribution of that data, knowing how that data is being used for what purpose to whom. And we discussed about that internal marketplace that you may have heard about like this morning. That's really becoming a foundation to any modern data strategy. So not even like externally facing, but internally facing. I don't know if that's something that excites you as much as it does but yes, that's been a key highlight for me for the day.
That was the anchor of our platform, right? We built, discovery is key. And how many times do your teams get questions of, hey, can you look at this data for me? Measuring that demand is something too we're trying to get to automate. Like I have a team of data analysts, and those analysts, I'm challenging them to say, like, tell me what ad hoc questions you get. Put those ad hoc questions into bots or agents or natural language capabilities that allows the business users to ask the questions, and it amplifies our central team's input. And we're doing that with data products, but also some of our research. So we have it's called the Northern Trust Institute. And the Northern Trust Institute does research and thought leadership on how to provide best-in-class wealth management advice. So how do you manage your tax estate? How do you build trusts that protect your assets? How do you have these different strategies for life events? Well, that's a wealth of information we've built over decades that is now hooked up to our platform that we can give to our field representatives to make it easier to prepare for client meetings. So that's been a huge use case and a huge example of how the value of all the investment we've driven into our platform has already started to reap benefits.
So there is that commonality between your two stories that we can map back to the outcome map. It's not just about driving growth, it's not about driving efficiency, it's about driving, simplifying, driving automation to actually drive revenue. So those two kind of go hand in hand. Yeah. And that's the title of the talk today. So that's look at this. So I think you mentioned something that is interesting and might tie back into what you've built recently and announced with a nice blog around Quick Take, Bobby. Chatbots, I don't know you, I'm fed up with chatbots in a sense of I adjust a prompt, it's open-ended question, and a chatbot will be as smart as just the question that we ask. So if we ask a non-smart question, we're gonna get a non-smart answer. So instead of all that notion of Gen AI as assisting human, but how do we get Gen AI as augmenting human decision? And I think that was really that paradigm that you started to incorporate into that Quick Take project, that human in the loop. So I don't know if you want to share a few things on that.
Yeah, thanks, Antoine. That's one of the most exciting things the team and we would talk about. That's the essence of the talk today. I mean, Quick Takes. So we collaborated and built it with Databricks. Our team is here, and kudos to the team for the inventiveness and innovation, and it's been an exceptional experience working with Databricks on it. What is Quick Takes? So if you go back to the earnings that an analyst would have to focus on. So you think about an analyst spending 45 minutes to 2 hours on an earnings release to deliver insights to a client. If you just follow the math, the kind of 1,700 companies now we cover, each earnings season, you have 1,700 hours, which is kind of 141 12-hour days, which is 102,000 minutes. So what is Quick Takes? Quick Takes is a system that we collaborated on and built with Databricks that ingests the earnings release automatically, extracts out the financials, creates a summary of the insights, in the prose of the actual analyst, which is just really next level innovation. So you take 102,000 minutes for an earnings period and you bring it down to minutes. Then you take the human in the loop, you back in another 15 minutes. So the human in the loop is the analyst checks it and then it gets to the client. You're getting insights delivered to the client and in the client's hands much faster than you ever would have. And the Databricks technology, critical component to the Unity catalog and Mosaic, unifying the data and analytics and the AI workflows. We needed a secure and scalable foundation with an end-to-end governance, which is really important, and then Databricks with the speed. The speed was truly a game or differentiator in terms of how we've created it. So quick takes, the team is thrilled about, and right now we're working with Databricks on the next quick takes. So but it's been productive, help clients and drive commercial outcomes.
Thank you. So there is that blog out there and some papers. I'll definitely go through this in more details. And for you, Jimmy, like same about like you mentioned about preparing for like client reviews and having the information you need when you need it and just contextualizing that. So do you see lots of like use of AI agents and bring that human augmentation into your business based on the foundation you build?
Yeah, two places. I think I'll start with our advisory piece. That's our secret sauce. It's the relationships we've built. And being able to understand our clients' profile, our clients' asset types, investment platforms, life events I mentioned, but that client preparation helps us give personalized advice. And when you think about that's the biggest efficiency piece is how do you find the ways to take all the information from internal Northern Trust, but also externally augmented information from third-party vendors that enriches that experience and allows them to do the value-added activities of maintaining their relationships, because that's what we're built on. And that's what we pride ourselves in, is giving that A-plus client service and top-notch relationship management. The other piece from a central hub and spoke perspective is taking the experience that our subject matter experts have and finding ways to channel that into the data ecosystem, whether it's via the core data products that we're building once and using many times, having people provide their input into the genie room concept is something we're taking back and getting them. We don't want that team. My team it's about 8 to 10 people, right? Well, we've got 8 to 10 core products. And then you think about the number of derived products you build on top of that. The only way to do that at scale is to think about some of these concepts. But I think it's those two things that are driving a lot of the embracing of the AI and agentic framework. And then I might add a third, that's the Unity catalog. Governance is maybe controversially one of the least favorite parts or least favorite things to do in a data ecosystem, but there's power in automating the governance and then allowing the human in the loop to tie back to making sure that it's correct and accurate and maintained over time.
Absolutely. Third-party data augmentation, just like bringing the wide arrays of like networks and data providers and information that we can further augment. I think that is also something that is completely changing. So I have the luxury in my job to be able to talk to many different data providers across different markets, and I see a trend around, they don't just want to sell data, they want to bring insights. So there has been that talk yesterday, for instance, with FactSet about delta sharing vector, that means AI-ready data sets. We've been seeing providers delta sharing models. We've been seeing organizations willing to create like clean rooms so that we can bring and merge first-party and third-party data in a safe and secure and efficient way. So I think there is really that change that is happening also on the data ecosystem. How does that fit with your notion of trust, where it's externally maintained assets? How can you trust those models? Does that excite you, scare you?
It's both. It's definitely both. From our perspective, of course, we tread lightly. But having at least we're ready for it. I think that's the most exciting part, is that what we've built is ready to accept it and evaluate it, and then take that expertise that we have, so limited resources, limited expertise, how do you get them to assess, is this third-party vendor walking the walk, talking the talk?
Walking the walk, talking the talk.
Yeah, doing what they're saying what they're doing. The point is, we're ready. It's exciting that they're meeting us, in the new age, channeling some of that excitement and energy that's here.
Same goes with you and market data and fundamental and data that you've been ingesting forever.
Yeah, we're excited. We needed to innovate. We need the AI-first data, and we need to upload it into our model. I mean, we have 5,000 people using our capability. We're working with even a great client partner, redistributor of data that can work out the commercial range of 1,000 different real-time data. So we need the real-time data into the model, and we need it to innovate. So yeah, we're ready.
Any piece of advice of how to get started on the journey? It's a journey. It's never been fully achieved. Maybe it's just ongoing data governance. And how do we get started? What's your piece of advice and lesson learned, having gone through this?
Building the AI culture, I would be our learning. Jimmy hit on it, the trust and culture. But if you look back kind of 3 years from now and say, were we successful? AI education, evidencing the use cases to inspire imagination, because we'll be building thousands of agents. So you look back 3 years, we'll have thousands of agents. Will we have adoption? Will we have 100% adoption? What will the usage look like? So we look at adoption and we look at usage as a reflection of a strong AI culture, and we're strengthening the culture. And the ROI frameworks, at the end of the day, you have to drive client and commercial measurable impact. So kind of break out 8,000 people into 40 different cohorts across capital markets, put an ROI framework on the different cohorts, and then you align that to what our CEO put out, as you all know, at Investor Day, which was generating $700 to $1 billion of NIBIT through AI in the next few years. So you align it to that proclaimed goal that we're accountable to our shareholders with. But to sum it up, AI culture and education. Education is critical. Those that leverage and educate themselves on AI will continue to earn the right to win. We're all over that as a firm.
And education centered around the value of AI, not just the nice experiment on the side, but tangible metrics and value. You?
I love the ROI framework, right? Cannot emphasize that enough. To add, I would just say, find the evangelists, find the people who are interested in it. At the beginning of the journey, it was a coalition of the willing. Give me anybody who's willing to participate and contribute and grow. Now that's started to snowball, right? You lean on the ROI. The other thing to add to is the challenge of getting leaders and the investment decision makers to say, this is a journey. We're never done, right? We're always evolving. New things are coming up. But as you focus on the ROI, I just got the question a couple weeks ago of, okay, you're fixing the pipes. You're reducing duplicate data. So what? What does that mean? Well, it makes it easier for our advisors to do their job better, makes it more efficient. You hit the ROI concepts, and that allows you to build the momentum that your journey can continue to evolve as technology changes.
So I found my two evangelists. Thank you very much. And and with that, I want to thank you again for your time, sharing the stage and your experience and expertise, and looking forward to collaborating even further with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Antoine. Thanks, Jimmy.
So just to wrap up, quickly, yes, thank you very much. To quickly thank of our sponsor, in addition of B3, RBC Capital Market and Northern Trust, so Deloitte and AWS. There have been some sessions this week that we hope you will be able to get a catch-up and recording and some slides and stories that we can share with you. We've been running the same in insurance, in banking payment, about all the key core priorities in our outcome map. And talking about outcome map, please, you can check out that link. It's how we started to bring all those different stories and design patterns and best practices together around specific use cases. So risk management, fraud prevention, market surveillance, trading analytics, advisory, as well as an economist report that we've built around those next trends that we see across capital market and financial services in general. So I want to thank you for whoever is leaving San Francisco today. Have a great, safe flight back home. It's been an absolute pleasure, and see you soon. Thank you.